When Trump ran for president in 2020, or for 2020, his tax returns were a hot issue. When Richard Nixon ran for president, there was controversy over trust in government and government officials. Nixon decided to release his tax returns in an effort to show transparency and that the voters could trust the president at the time when there was rising alienation and lack of confidence in government. So Nixon turned over his tax returns as a political stunt, and apparently it worked. Well, this became nothing more than a tradition and basically a tit for tat. It's never been a law, nor has there ever been a requirement of candidates to turn over their tax returns to run for presidency. Well, we all know what happened in 2019. When Trump ran, he never turned over his tax returns, and during his entire presidency, he also never turned over his tax returns. By the way, when Nixon turned over his tax return, this is kind of weird. At first, it actually hurt him. According to records, Nixon paid around $800 in taxes in both 70 and 71, despite earning around $200,000 a year. Interesting. So these numbers were upsetting to many Americans and journalists who were already curious about Nixon's financial records and had been inquiring about them for several months. Nixon's successor, Gerald Ford, kept the tradition going when he became president, and records show that Ford didn't release his tax return outright, however. He instead released summaries of his annual tax returns. Well, getting back to Trump, the tradition kept going until, well, Trump just plain refused to do it. Well, this upset many Americans, or should I say anti-Americans. After all, it was only the Democrats that were truly upset by it. So the anti-Americans pushed and pushed for the release of the tax returns, and Trump held his ground. The House and Ways Committee sued to obtain Trump's federal returns for the years 2015 through 2020, and then Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin refused to comply with the committee's request to turn them over. So they said, no, we're not going to do it. Trump appointed Mnuchin and said that the panel did not have a legitimate legislative purpose. So in another attempt to basically trash Trump, the anti-Americans are trying to obtain the tax returns for what they say is a routine audit of presidential tax returns. Trump feels that they will be released into the public, and frankly, I gotta admit, I agree with him. Well, Trump sues to have this case dismissed, and at first the lawsuit to have it dismissed was thrown out. So Trump took it higher and higher, and now it's at the Supreme Court. Now, if the Supreme Court grants Trump's application to delay the order, which is all he's doing at this point, is delaying the order so he can continue to prove that they should not ask for it, it could thwart the Democrat-controlled committee from receiving the returns for several more years or make it so they never receive them. Trump claims, and I agree with him, that tax returns are personal and private. Just because other presidents agreed to voluntarily release their returns, it does not make Trump or any president obligated to turn over the tax returns. So we wait to see if Trump will be obligated to turn them over. My guess is that Trump will ask for a referee to make sure that his returns do not fall into the hands of an enemy, if he basically loses the case and has to turn them over. Of course, in order for this trickery by the anti-Americans to work, they have to get their dirty little hands on the tax returns before next week to possibly change the course of the election. But for you Democrats, don't worry. Mail-in voting and drop boxes will definitely save the day for you. I can see it now. Mastriano and Oz by a wide margin going into midnight, and then voila! 300,000 votes by mail will all be open at 3 o'clock in the morning. Forget voter ID. We don't need voter ID. We need fingerprint voting in the future. Hey, Democrats, do black people have fingerprints, or would there be another form of voter suppression by saying they can't get their fingerprints, like, ID to vote? Unbelievable.